We are live. What's happening, Ross and Kara?
Hey Tony, thank you.
Thank you for coming on Hangry and Horny. We're at the FBOMB headquarters.
Yeah, so you came to us. This is great.
Yeah, that's what I do. I just feel like it's important that I get that connection in the flesh, because I've done like interviews on Skype or one of those like virtual things, and it just doesn't feel like you get that full like effect being in front of like a person, human form.
3D,
you know?
yeah.
3D,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
So I think it's just more powerful that we interact in person, and I think the audience gets more of that like effect as well.
Yeah, I agree. But it's been a real pleasure having you out here.
Yeah, it's
So nice to see
man,
you.
it's having a good time the last 4 days, being with you guys, hanging out, seeing like you guys work, just hearing the stories of your background, your path, the convoluted paths we were talking about, and
Very convoluted.
yeah, and like never in your wildest dreams did you ever like think you're gonna be doing this, right?
She never thought she'd be the fat lady.
No,
we never.
The fat
we never,
lady sings, right?
Yeah, she had like all of 110 pounds maybe. But no, we joke about being the fat people or the.
Yeah, like eating like
Didn't expect that.
Eating fat.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, how did this all began? Like with Fat Bomb, like how did you guys conceive of this?
You.
As we look at each other, who's doing this? We started making stuff for ourselves. We were both eating a low carb, high fat, ketogenic diet, and at home you can always find coconut oil and olive oil and things and control what you're eating. But when you're out, even if it's local, in a restaurant, you can get the protein and the good veggie carbs, but it's hard to find enough or the right kind of fat if you're not at home. You never know what's in the salad dressings. You never know, even if it's real olive oil, if it's old and oxidized or rancid. And so we started making our own stuff in little packets, and they would leak, but we'd put them in an Nalgene bottle so they wouldn't get all over your luggage.
Okay.
And that's kind of how this started. We did it part-time and realized there was a market for it.
Yeah, other people did want them too.
Okay, so you had like mentioned it, or somebody like kind of eavesdropped and noticed that you guys would like bring out these packets and put it on your food? Like, how did that come about with other people were being interested?
Well, people would always notice. I think it wasn't so much that people were saying, hey, I want to buy that. We know a local person who started making bars and taking them into the Grand Canyon on river trips, and hers started like that. People were saying, hey, I want some of those. We were eating this stuff and just realized that since we couldn't find what we wanted, there must be a hole in the market. So it was sort of an assumption, I guess.
Yeah.
But we eased into it part-time and started making stuff in a commercial kitchen space and offered it for sale. And our first day we launched it, people bought stuff. That was scary.
Yeah, how long ago was that when you guys started the actual commercial production?
Production was in 2015, and then we did our first sales October 15th of 2015. We know the day.
Yeah, and that was all like in person or online or?
Online, yeah.
Okay.
We put the website live.
Website. Okay. What kind of like website was it? Was it like Shopify or something or?
Yeah, we actually thought about Shopify. We didn't start there. We started with Squarespace.
Actually, before Squarespace, remember my little homemade cheesy site?
Oh, yeah.
Like
was
a
cute.
WordPress thing or something? Or?
It might have been. I don't even remember what platform we
That's
used.
true.
And then we had somebody local made the space in Squarespace and bettered it. And then we switched to Shopify after we found some limitations in Squarespace.
Okay.
Shopify's been great.
Yeah.
That's
You
awesome.
can grow there, yeah, so that's really
And so how did people find out that you had this for sale? It was just local word of mouth first, or?
We brought Jimmy Moore in. Jimmy's big in the keto community, and when we were doing all of our prep work and setting up, getting the licensing and the permitting and all that, we were looking at how do we get the word out about this, and he seemed like a good fit, the obvious fit. He's written so many books on keto and health and just has such a great podcast following that we reached out to Jimmy, and because of all my travel, I had a lot of airline points, and we said, hey, we would like to bring you and your wife out. We used a bunch of airline points. We got them rooms at the Monte Vista Hotel downtown and
Love that hotel.
brought them out before we launched and told them, okay, October 15th, we're going live. And we did a podcast. She laughs because
It was a little terrifying. I didn't think we were remotely ready to start selling things.
Yeah.
oh, we weren't.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean
that was all fine.
that's pretty much like
Yeah.
the story of a lot of like companies is like start with a minimum viable
That's
product.
what you need
and
to
just
do.
start.
Before you're ready.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I made that commitment in a podcast with Jimmy that we recorded before October 15th. And then as October 15th approached and we realized we were ready, but we weren't as ready as we wanted to be. So
yeah, there was a little scrambling there.
Yeah, I was gonna say because he has like a following,
Yeah.
and it's just you two at this point, right?
yeah, we are.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, you had all these orders coming in.
Yeah, we did have a pretty good first day. It wasn't as scary bad or as big as we feared it might be.
Okay.
You know, there's a balance there.
Yeah.
If you've got crickets and there's nothing, that's of course terrifying. And if you get inundated and can't handle it, that's terrifying. And we were happily in the middle.
It was good. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just pretty much okay. Was it still a little bit overwhelming, or was it just about right to start?
It was not too bad. It was a little overwhelming, but
Yeah.
there was a pretty steep learning curve just doing all the parts and pieces ourselves. So
Right, and you had like no background in any of this, like
no,
food preparation or
no.
licensing and getting a place set up. Like it was all like learning on the go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you see, you know, someday we joke about having the museum and we'll have our first little peristaltic pump. And the switch was mounted in a cardboard box, you know, so you would reach over and hit the switch to fill. Yeah, we've learned a lot.
Yeah,
We've come a long ways too, but we've definitely
wasn't
learned
bad.
so much.
It wasn't as bad as like the Flintstones or something, right? We had like little animals like
No.
behind the TV. And
Not really that bad, no.
Yeah. Wow. So, did any of your prior like work history background like come into play with starting this business, or were there like any kind of transfer or translation?
Weirdly, yeah, probably.
Okay.
You know? For me, I had some other starting a business experience, starting a restaurant. So that just how do you keep track of everything and put all the parts and pieces together to do all the business things right. I think all of that life experience, it's all just problem solving. So yeah.
Yeah. What was the biggest like problem that like showed up that was just like, oh shit?
Early on, what would that have been? Just a lot to manage at once. I can't think of a particular.
Did you guys have like the original black packet at that time? Was that the first iteration of the
It
product?
was, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And those were the pre-made pouches. So those all came in on time, though.
Yeah, but tell them how we did that with the labels. And I think that was the biggest challenge because you were putting the labels on.
To be flexible and to be able to offer more than one product starting out. A lot of people that launch a food product will go with a contract manufacturer, and that's great, but then you're committing to a big order of one thing. And as we researched that, Ross figured out that we didn't need to do that, and so we could get the equipment and we could set up a commercial kitchen and we could package this stuff ourselves. And that was great because that let us do multiple things. But when you have a pouch printed to put your product in, it's expensive to get multiple versions of that pouch printed. You need print rollers for each variety. So we had a basic pouch made, and then we got labels. We left a blank space on the pouch, and then we had clear labels that we put on each pouch, front and back, to customize by variety. And so each of those labels was put on one by one. Ross made us the labelator,
Yeah.
to help us
Yeah.
supply them, but that was my hobby for a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, what was like the next step after that? Like once you had these things like packaged, was there like a pre-order, or you would just make a set amount and then like where do you go from there?
When we started, we were filling based on orders. You know, we were taking orders, and I was working, and Kara was working. We both had full-time jobs, and so we would go in after work and sometimes stay till midnight or 1 or 2, just filling pouches and packing orders, and then the next day taking them to the post office. And it was very much, you know, the fancy term is just-in-time manufacturing, but
Yeah.
there's a
That's what
bit
I
of
was gonna
panic
say.
there, you know. It wasn't the efficient just-in-time. We were making as much as we had to send orders out because we didn't have time to really make more and get ahead.
Yeah, there was, I guess that was a challenge. That was stressful. Not being able to, people wanted their order and we didn't quite have everything, so we had orders halfway filled and just the shipping was complex and we wanted to make everybody happy and we just didn't have the stuff, so that was, we're in a happier place with that now. So it's
Yeah,
great.
imagine like that's the process.
Yeah, you know, I was working in a job that required travel to, at the time, Japan regularly, and Kara's folks had some health issues that led her to leave town for 6 months and go live in Phoenix with her parents. And if we got orders in, you know, if an order came in on Friday and I got back from my Japanese trip on Saturday, you know, we'd get them out over the weekend. But we were sitting there crossing our fingers, hoping nobody ordered on the Monday, and then they'd have to
Wow.
wait all week, and we would send them, we would update customers, and I think that's why we worked it out, but we would update customers and give them a coupon code and say it's going to be delayed and thank you and here's a discount off your order or a refund.
Right.
Sorry.
We gave we gave away a lot of
So
stuff.
sorry.
It's not a
Yeah.
great business model.
Yeah.
No, that was definitely that was a hurdle.
Right,
Just getting
right.
past
Well, you
that.
guys came in like communicating and being vulnerable, so I think like what most people were pretty understanding.
They were, yeah. I think people really like, in any business, they like knowing who they're dealing with. And so even if, you know, what they're getting from us is an apology and I'm sorry, we're backed up, or they like that, to just have that personal relationship. And we liked that too. We still do.
Even now that we've grown, you know, we had a customer, we had a recent price increase. It was really necessary because of the cost increase on the macadamia nuts that we use. And a customer who uses our product and has cancer, and he emailed us and he was pretty irate. Can't believe you guys raised the price. I just noticed that. I need this for, you know, my health. And Kara responded directly and he's like, whoa, I'm so sorry. He said, you know, the cancer treatment's affecting my cortisol levels. I get hangry, you know.
Yeah, right. 'Cause he's also
And,
hungry too.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just the fact that Kara, you know, somebody from the company, I mean, one of the owners or founders reached out to him. He sent the nicest email back, and it was, I mean, it was very moving even. We just got
Mhm.
that this morning.
Yeah, that was really nice. It feels good to be able to have that personal connection and, you know, do something a little nice for somebody. So that's good. I enjoy that.
You know, we were writing, originally either Kara or I were writing a thank you note on every single packing slip. And then as we grew and added employees, we were, you know, Kara and I were writing some notes, but most of the notes were written by our staff, Therese or Zev or somebody. And now we've even outgrown that ability, but we still want to stay connected. So we plan to be able to send postcards out to customers,
what I was-
especially repeat customers.
Right, right.
I was
Yeah,
working
yeah.
on that today. How do we do that? How do we make that, you know, feasible to keep communicating with people like that? It's nice. We do. I mean, we appreciate everybody that orders from us. So
Yeah,
we want to
and
be able to
that
express that.
shines through with you guys. That's
Oh,
what I
thanks.
love, like working with you guys and hanging out. It's like you actually give a shit, you know.
Wait,
And yeah, it's so cool because you know once companies start getting bigger, and it's gonna be hard to connect with everybody as you scale.
For
But
sure.
you know, you really took care of like your early adopters because they're the ones that actually like enable you to reach this stage. So, you know, doing your best and then actually making personal calls every so often, like that's huge.
I think that's one of our favorite parts is, and we do feel like those are personal relationships. You know, it's not just a sea of customers, it's people that we've gotten to be friends with, several of our customers, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you know, last week there was a customer who posted a review, and it was such a nice review. I looked her up and I called her and said, hey, you know, I want to talk to you, and, you know, we might be able to sponsor you. Or somebody else, you know, I spoke to the week before had posted something, and we reached out to her, and she's writing a blog article for us now. You know, that's fun, but it's great. We've gotten to know the names. We've had some really good friends that we've made and developed out of this, yourself included now. You know, we've got customers who, not just because of our product, but have used keto to change or improve their life, and they tell us their stories, and some of those are really moving. You know, one of our customers is an ultra runner, and he uses our products and other food just for his keto ultra running lifestyle, his endurance, athleticism, and his daughter's type 1 diabetic. I think she's 12 or 14, and
somewhere in there.
He posted a picture, had me in tears, and a post about, you know, how she finally found, or he found something that she likes that doesn't spike her blood sugar, and, you know, that just is so, it's very motivating.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
A lot of neat feedback. So when you guys were actually producing the product, like, did you get it down like right away, or how many iterations did you have with the recipe until you're like, okay, this is it?
Well, I think because we had experimented on ourselves and were making stuff that we wanted and liked, we haven't changed anything. The only product that we launched or sold for a bit that we dropped was just the macadamia nut without any salt at all. And it tasted great, but everybody wants salt in their stuff. The athletes want salt for, you know, electrolyte replenishment. Everybody else likes salt because they want the salty snack. And so we looked at the sales and realized that the plain version didn't sell well.
One big fan, and he was kind of sad, but we apologized.
Yeah, I think we apologized and sent him
sacrificed for the greater.
Yeah.
We apologized. I think we sent him 100 packs of plain out of our last batch. Just sent him 100 packs of it and said, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, but we haven't changed anything else. Even as we've grown or got the new machine here and are mixing, you know, we went from mixing literally 2-gallon batches at a time, 2 gallons of nut butter, to now we're mixing 200 gallons at a time in a large, you know, mixing tank, and it's still the same stuff.
You know, our ingredients are simple. You know, we don't have a ton of stuff in there. We don't have there wasn't a lot to play with. You know, they're pretty straightforward.
Straightforward,
so, you know,
whole
just getting
food
the salt
ingredients.
right.
Yeah. And like, how did the name come about? Because that's like the best part. Like,
well,
obviously
that's Kara's scary genius.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from. We were debating what to call it. We didn't have a good name for the brand yet, and I woke up in the middle of the night one night and thought, oh, we should call it FBOMB. And then I rolled over and went back to sleep, and over coffee the next morning, I told Ross about it, and I was kind of giggling like, ha, that's, I can't but here, that's what it came to me in the middle of the night, and it's like, that's it. And I was like, no, we can't really call it that.
Right.
And then it grew on me.
Yeah, I mean, I immediately, I was thinking, you know, so many people post recipes for fat bombs. I thought, oh, what a great tie-in. And you can drop an F-bomb in your coffee, and you can drop an F-bomb at work. And so we checked in the website, the domain drop an F-bomb was, I don't know why it wasn't taken, but it was available.
Wow.
And so we snagged it that morning.
That was fate.
And about 3 days later, she was like, yeah, that'd be pretty good.
That's all right.
I mean, we, for a long time, you know, it took us close to a year from the time we came up with the idea to start selling product. We had to get our permitting, get our licensing, find a space, set up a commercial kitchen. And during all that time, all of our file structure in Dropbox was just titled glop.
Okay,
Because if you
glop.
take, you know, yeah, if you take coconut oil or,
Yeah.
or our house blend, which is coconut oil and a couple other natural organic oils, you put it in your coffee and it's cold and, you know, it comes out and it kind of glops out.
Yeah.
And we had no idea what to call it, really. And of course, we're not marketing geniuses, which is why I was thinking we might call it glop. That would have gone over well.
Oh, thank goodness you did.
Well, I was thinking, you know, like Dr. Seussy kind of
Right.
gloppity glop glop.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, we would have had fun with it, but we were at a loss. And when Kara came up with the FBOMB dream, the middle of the night epiphany, it hit me. I said, okay,
Yeah,
that's
that's
it.
it, right? You just knew immediately.
F is for fat, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, somebody said, I love their product, but I'm not a big fan of the
F word.
no, yeah, how'd she say it? The something play on words. You know, the offensive play on words. And I
Okay.
went back, I said, what play on words? It's
Yeah.
fat bomb. What
Fat
were you
bomb.
thinking? You know?
Oh, right. Yeah, like play it all naive.
Yeah. So we joke around a lot, but we're having fun. And I think
Yeah.
people realize we're not trying to be offensive. We're just trying to spark conversation.
And so you guys are like part of that whole keto movement with like understanding that there's different kinds of fats and there's obviously healthy fats now and like then there's the sort of trans fatty acids from like frying foods. You went into other kinds of fats like vegetable oils or canola. So and then you get into like the whole salt scare as well because we all been taught to like lower salt intake, lower fat intake, and so how did you guys get into like the high fat salt part of your diet?
Well, salt, I just always, you know, you need it. And there's a great book out by called The Salt Fix by Dr. D. Antonio. He's a pharmacist, but he wrote I think it came out last year, fantastic book. Really sort of reinforced what we thought about salt. And as far as the fat, I came into this, you know, into the low carb, high fat realm through my uncle, who was a cardiologist at Johns Hopkins. And after my dad had passed away, my uncle convinced me to kind of embrace low carb through the Atkins. He gave me an Atkins book. And
Which is like ironic because he's a cardiologist.
yeah,
You
but
know,
he had diabetes and he knew he had this family history of diabetes. And so he convinced me that might be a better way to eat to avoid this family history of issues that he and my dad and his brother, all three were doctors and all three suffered from. So that's how I came into this. And it was, you know, I was in and out of keto for years. For a long time, I was eating too much protein and not enough fat. But
Okay.
once I really embraced the fat, not you. Yeah, sorry. I'm gonna get punched. No, you know, once I really embraced eating healthy fat and increasing my fat intake more than it was, I lost a lot of the cravings that I would have if I was eating too much protein and not enough fat. And it became very easy, and so that's what led to the business, was just trying to find enough fat.
How did your dad know, your uncle know, like being a cardiologist in the current paradigm was low fat or lower your cholesterol? And I know that he had this like diabetes, but how did he go against and buck against the trend? Like what was it that he researched and found out like, hey, I need to try this?
Well, Johns Hopkins was where the ketogenic diet was sort of developed. I mean, keto's been around. People used to be keto, when that was everything you ate. But the ketogenic diet was developed really formally at Johns Hopkins Hospital or Johns Hopkins Medical School or Medical Center as a treatment for child epilepsy. And so he was aware of that research, and as he really developed issues from the diabetes. He ended up having a pancreas and a kidney transplant. So it was a serious issue, and I think he just realized, there's something to that. So I thank him. I'm very thankful for that all the time.
So yeah, he figured out like, hey, this is pretty much life or death for me with these transplants, and he somehow knew about inflammation in the complications of the body breaking down, or
I don't know. We didn't talk about that. He just, and in fact, I didn't know that much about keto until he told me, but obviously it was too late for him. He ended up dying from complications related to the diabetes, as did his brother, who was a doctor down in Florida. But I'm glad they shared that with me.
He introduced you to that. That was about the time Atkins was a new thing. Is that true?
Yeah, that was...
like in the 80s?
Do the math. 26 years ago. No,
Yeah, try.
No, yeah, it would have been the 80s. It would have been, I think it was, mid-late 80s when I started doing that.
Wow, it's quite a bit of time, and it was controversial, and it was like come out, and even now it's still like controversial on like mainstream media, but all these things are starting to shift.
Yeah, and in fact, people call it a fad or a fad diet, and the Atkins diet, people called it a fad back then. And, when Karen and I were talking about this, and I told her about Atkins, and I think her first reaction was, seeing all the Atkins junk food and the, and...
Yeah, there's merchandise type
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, it's
there's
just...
a lot of fake, very processed food products, and that was my impression of Atkins. Was I'd heard about it,
They're really diving into the weight loss market pretty much,
yeah,
right?
and just
like
that my
convenience and-
impression was that it was a fad, and that it was partly based on all the products that they've since put out there. But
The crap.
yeah, and then Ross said, "Well, have you read the book?" No, I haven't. And when you read the book, he couldn't, because fat was such a bad word back then. He couldn't. He kind of played that down and played protein up, I think, in its place. So if there's a
Okay.
flaw there, it was that. But the underlying biology that he describes of the processes was totally solid. I was really impressed with the book when I took the time to dig into it.
Yeah, and he doesn't, everything that he espouses in the book or everything that he encourages people to eat is real food.
Yeah.
There is none of the Atkins, processed crap in there. And so, Karen read that, and that's how I came into
Which book
it.
was that again?
Just with the Diet Revolution, the first Atkins book.
Okay.
And that had been my approach to food, was real food. And I came to this from sort of a more paleo, eat real food perspective, but the keto part of it fits so nicely into that, and that totally made sense to me.
And so did you change anything when you met Ross? He was already doing that, and then he introduced it to you, and
Yeah, bump up the fat and see,
okay.
how does that work? How does that feel? Because I had also been starting to keep track of my own, blood sugar, know that I'm a little insulin resistant, seeing my A1C creep up a little bit. So being more mindful about carbs, and even if they're, good whole food carbs, to be more thoughtful about that. And so the keto piece fit right in there, and that's kind of how I got there.
What did you notice change for you in terms of when you transitioned to keto?
I think my favorite thing is the losing that carb roller coaster. I just ate breakfast and I'm hungry again in 2 hours, and I'm hangry.
Yes.
The cranky, and then you need a nap, or you get the brain fog, and all of that kind of just stops. It goes away.
So you transition from hangry to horny.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're going to take a break now.
That shift.
Yeah, time out.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back now. That was a quick one.
I'm not sure I like what you're saying there.
We'll have to ask Kara.
I'm blushing.
Oh, that's cool. So word of mouth? Did you guys use any form of advertising?
Our only advertising when we started was the advertising we did as a sponsor of Jimmy Moore's podcast, and that was it. And from that, we started getting some social media followers. Now, both Kara and I sort of abhor social media. I have never had a Facebook account before this. I don't even still like Facebook. I kind of like Instagram. You know, it's I think a better format, but you know, we started doing some social media posts, started developing some followers. And, you know, our friend Eva, I know you just interviewed Eva.
Yes.
And Eva had once said, "You ain't shit on the internet until you got 10,000 followers." And when we hit 5,000, I texted her and I said, "Hey, we're half a shit." You know, so, you know, we're still not to 10,000, but it's all been organic. We don't do a lot of giveaways. We're not doing things to try to promote followers. But I think that means that the people who have been following us, we interact with them, and they've been pretty loyal, and that's helped us grow.
Yeah, it's like a solid foundation there in the relationship that you guys have developed. And I've noticed that 'cause now your followers are posting on your behalf.
They're
They're
great.
pretty much telling, I'm telling everybody because I've tried all the kinds of nut butters. And I mean, this sounds like a commercial right now, but like seriously, like it was like the best I ever tried because Chris Albert and Andrew Marr with the Warrior Soul at the time, like they, you know, I guess had met you guys in Austin during the what was it, Paleo event?
Yeah, Paleo FX.
Yeah, so they shared the product with me, and I was like, holy shit, like this is amazing, like who is it? Who makes this? You know, and I love the name. And yeah, I just knew that I had to like meet you guys, so I figured that people had the same experience with the product, you know, and then just started becoming like repeat customers.
Yeah, we get some really nice love from our customers. We've got good friends and fans. It's really kind of touching. That's the word we've used.
It is.
What people say about us, they take the time to write reviews, and they're really nice.
Yes, I know that the secret ingredient is love, right? Because like that's all I felt with you guys since we've hung out this last 4 days. I came back after the first, coming to like the FBOMB Mecca the first time you guys had the open house, right? It was trying to think of the word. It was a pilgrimage, you know, coming back. So it's like now I just want to keep coming back because I really like hanging out with you guys. I really feel that you exemplify love, you know, in your product. That's one of the things that it's like hard to measure, but you can feel when you eat like homemade chicken soup made by like mom with love, or mom's like homemade cookies, and I feel like it extends to your product. And so you came up with FBOMB, but where did you come up with Love You Foods?
Love You Foods was actually the official first name, and we still, you know, Kara had thought, I don't know, how did you, that was sort of your brainchild as well, but you know, we do love what we're doing. We were not looking for a fad. We weren't tracking, you know, how keto is a search term trends against paleo or anything. I mean, we just
wandered in.
Yeah, we wandered in at the right time, I guess, on an upward trend, but we just were making stuff we wanted. And, you know, we understand the healing power of real food, and we understand, because of what it's done for us, you know, how good healthy fats are. So it felt like, you know, we do this for love. We do this to help people. In fact, on our first packaging, we had love listed as one of the ingredients, and we just had to take that off.
Yeah, I've seen that on other products as well.
Well, it'll be going away.
Okay.
We had it listed in the ingredient list. We had,
it's like, you know, number one, maybe, huh?
Well, no, because so we had the ingredients, and then to comply with the FDA rules, it said ingredients: macadamia nut, coconut, raw organic coconut butter, sea salt, and then we put a period, and then we had and love. And we thought that'd be okay with the FDA because it wasn't listed as an ingredient because the period separated it.
Oh.
But there's this weird rule that between your ingredients and your nutrition label, you can't have any intervening things. You can't put the barcode there, you can't have other wording.
Be throwing love in there.
You can't even put
Oh,
and love. So
Okay.
unfortunately we had to take that off the package when we did the redo into the new pouch shape here a
So
few weeks ago.
what were I'm trying to think of when I look at ingredients, like is there a comma there?
No, we just had to take the and love out. So now it says ingredients, macadamia nut butter, sea salt, and that's it. And then
But
right
there's like
below
a
that,
comma between macadamia and nut, and then
Yeah.
comma sea salt.
we just had to take the and love out.
Yeah,
But love is still there.
It's still in there, yeah.
It's still there. We just can't tell you about it.
yeah, because I've seen like other products where it says like made with 100% love, or it seemed like in the ingredient there would be like their ingredients of the actual product, and then a comma love. So would that have worked? Or?
It's no, it'll be going away.
They're
It's-
right on the edge now.
yeah,
Damn it!
yeah.
I love love.
No, we love love too.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there are a lot of things that. So, here's something that's interesting. The FDA has guidelines for how much fat and protein you should take. They have recommended daily intakes for those. There is no recommended daily intake range for carbohydrates. So you can advertise a product as low fat if it has a certain percentage of fat in relationship to the total calories. We, on our first packaging, had low carb on there, and we had to take that off our new packaging. Since there's no recommended range for carbohydrates, you can't say what's low or high because there's no recommendation or recommended range. So we can't say our stuff is low carb because you can't tell us, or the FDA doesn't have a range and tell us, okay, yeah, this is low carb, this is high carb.
Right.
Which is totally stupid.
Yeah, so now this gets into like the sort of controversy sides or conspiracy sides about like who owns the FDA or controls like what can be like made, what can be said, the pharmaceutical companies, all that kind of stuff. So, it's like they have recommend ranges for fat and protein, but not for carbs. That's really interesting.
But because of that, at the very beginning on our package on the front, we really wanted to emphasize be a little contrarian, a little snarky.
Exactly.
And so our first packages said not low fat, not even a little. And we still have that on the packaging. We can't say low carb, but we can say it's not low fat because there is a range and there is a ratio of fat to carbs, and our stuff is definitely not low fat, which is again just totally stupid that you can't say low carb. But.
Right, and the thing with the food industry is all about like consumption, right, and like what makes the product very addictive. And so you guys create something that's very like sustainable, gives you like long-term energy. There's no like up and down like blood sugar crashes, and these other products are designed to like keep you like consuming like potato chips, right? It's like you just mindlessly eat this stuff, and if it's low fat, then obviously it's not gonna like satiate you.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting that you create a product that doesn't tap into the addictive patterns of the brain, one, and then two, actually like enhances people's like well-being in regards to like helping them remove the symptoms of eating these highly processed foods that create inflammation and destroy the body, and especially like sugar, right? So
And you make it sound all very technical, and you're absolutely right, but really we haven't done anything magical, and I'm surprised nobody else had done it, but nobody else was making macadamia nut butter like this, and it's just real food. I mean, if you could take avocados and grind them up and put them in a pack and they wouldn't turn brown, Or you could find 10 ripe avocados all at the same time.
At the same time.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean, that's all it is just real food. But real food has so much power.
Right.
You know, it's amazing. And in some ways, what we did, I think, is pretty cool and innovative. And in some ways, it's just
Common sense.
really basic common
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, to your point about addiction, though, you know, we did make a choice. What we found is that as you back off eating the carbs and especially sugar, your palate adjusts. And there's a lot of keto stuff out there that is sweetened some way or another, a non-sugar way. And our take on that was that at some point you just have to back off of that, get away from that craving. And so we chose not to promote that by adding a lot of, you know, non-nutritive sweeteners, and just try to provide something for people that just want to not promote that and get rid of that addiction.
And that would have been a decision that, you know, most companies would have just like bypassed.
Well, people are so used to things being so sweet. I
Right.
think we had talked about there's sugar in everything,
Yeah.
or so everything is sweetened, and so people are so, there's such a, I think the baseline for what tastes right is super sweet for most, you know, the standard American diet, it's super sweet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you are used to eating really sweet stuff, and you have a piece of like 86% dark chocolate, it tastes so bitter and nasty.
Painful.
Right.
Yeah, but now that's our standard go-to for chocolate. And if I were to have a piece, you know, sometimes I'll cut up a cantaloupe. Ruby is not keto, and I'll cut up a piece of cantaloupe for her, and I'll take a bite and see if it's right. And it's so sweet. I'll taste that in my mouth for half an hour, and it's really weird. You know,
How do you adjust?
yeah. You know, you adjust. And so Kara, what she likes to say is get off the crack, you know,
Yeah.
break the sugar addiction, quit. Because people will sometimes beat us up for not using stevia
Oh.
or erythritol or
Yeah.
the other sugar alcohols in there. And there's some new ones out, and we're getting some pressure to use some of those. And our thought is, we would rather have a little bit of a nutritive natural sweetener like a sugar or cane syrup, just a little bit,
Right.
than any amount of something really artificial and processed. And people say, oh, stevia is natural. And sure, if you grew a stevia plant in your kitchen window, that's a natural plant. And those leaves, if you make a tea out of them, have a lot of compounds that may even have some medicinal benefit. But stevia, the plant, the leaf, is not FDA approved for use in food, and a lot of people don't realize that.
Oh.
The stevia that you buy in a package, despite all the green leaves on the package, is either not stevia or very, in a small part, stevia, or it's just the stevia glycoside that was chemically extracted from the stevia leaf. You know,
Okay.
so it's like a coca leaf is natural.
Right.
Crack cocaine is not really natural
Yes,
anymore,
yeah.
and it's the same thing. You know,
Right,
they've
it's a
used chemicals to
concentration.
extract these stevia glycosides, and that's the only part that's FDA approved for use in food.
Right. This is all interesting, right? Because it's like, what do they allow, what they don't
It is
allow,
interesting.
you know?
And it's misleading.
Yes.
Look at a packet, a box or a bottle or jar or whatever form you get, whether it's liquid or powder. Look at the container, and it'll have green leaves on it.
Yeah.
And
I've seen it.
people
Yeah.
will say, oh wait, stevia is natural, it's okay, but you can't use stevia in a product legally. All you can use is this stevia glycoside, and out of all of the sweeteners besides sugar, the non-nutritive sweeteners, the stevia glycoside has one of the lowest acceptable daily intakes, the ADI, basically the safe level of all of those. I think Dr. Feist's book basically said that 2 stevia sweetened sodas would put you over the safe daily limit according to the FDA. So it's not the free lunch. Kara likes to talk about the free lunch.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of how it's being treated now, that it's kind of an all-you-can-eat, and the particular qualities of stevia aside, you're still, when you consume something that's got that sweet taste, no matter what the sweetener is, you're sending your body that message. Like, here comes some really sweet, so your metabolism is gearing up for that. So, yeah, I think it's maybe, and we've heard some good arguments for, using some of those sweeteners in products that are making things palatable for kids they have to follow a ketogenic diet, and if that, makes that work for them, then maybe, sure, you can make that argument. But I think for general use, it bears a little caution.
Yeah. And if you're an athlete, or you're using exogenous ketones for therapeutic uses because of epilepsy or neurological function or issues, and you're taking exogenous ketones, those by themselves taste pretty nasty. So that's a case where, put some stevia in it, put some great flavoring in it, and make it palatable, so that the people don't barf. I mean, that makes sense. Yeah. But when you're eating real food and you take macadamia nuts and you get used to eating less sweetened things, the macadamia nuts, when they're roasted and ground like that, they're sweet, they taste nice, and
that's what I noticed.
And we don't want to hide that.
Sweet.
Yeah. Even maybe your like chocolate macadamia product, like there's a little bit of cane sugar, but it's so tiny. And I've had like raw chocolate before, and it's you think you're going into it like, oh, this is really healthy, but you find out like how much sugar is in it, and agave or whatever it is, and you're like, holy crap. And then I'm tasting yours, and it's not like that sweet, but it's sweet enough, and it's delicious, and it's not like, it doesn't overpower like the fat taste of it too, Yeah,
we use a little bit of a 65% chocolate, and we're using actual chocolate chips or chocolate wafers. So it's not a powder, it's not a chocolate flavor. We use a real organic fair trade dark chocolate, bittersweet chocolate chip.
Yeah.
And we melt it and blend it in with the macadamia nut, and it's literally less than a penny's weight of chocolate in a pack. So it's not very much. I mean, we'll have 2 squares of dark chocolate at night with a glass of wine for dessert, and that works for us. But like we tell people, you got to figure out what works for you. So just because we make it and we say it's what we want and we think it's okay, doesn't mean it's okay for you or everybody.
Yeah, I like how everything is. I hope nothing really changes, like maybe you might have like a specific pack for some population that does need a little bit of more sugar in it or something, but it's amazing.
I think if we do a specialty or we change anything, we've had some requests, like a pretty well-known author has asked us to do an organic macadamia nut butter. But there aren't enough organic macadamia nuts in the world to supply even a year of what we're producing right now. So, we can't do that. It's just not practical. But we may do some small run organic.
Special edition.
Yeah.
Just to make her happy.
Right. Yeah.
No, people want that, and that's good.
Yeah, because that was the question I did ask like during dinner last night. It was just like the whole question about organic, because you have like all this amazing labeling, like paleo, keto, vegetarian, vegan friendly, and it's like, where's the organic part? And it's like, oh, let me school you on like what's going on with the macadamia farms in the world, and like the way that it's all gathered and how you guys purchase it from a source.
Yeah, like in Kenya or South Africa or Australia, wherever, the macadamia nuts are not typically grown in a big farm. They might be, you may have 300 families that each have 1 or 2 macadamia nut trees, and that's providing them income, and we want to support that.
Yeah.
But to get those 300 different farms, if whatever you call them, the little family-run operations, to get all of those certified as organic is really almost impossible. And if one of them's not certified, then that whole batch can't be called organic. And so, we're buying, we think, the best quality macadamia nuts, and there aren't I mean, there's a limited supply of macadamia nuts in the world, but there just aren't that many organic. So wherever we can, we do get organic products. Our coconut butter, our coconut oil, those are organic, you know, but sorry, even the chocolate's organic, you know, we can't get enough macadamia nut that's certified organic.
Yet. Maybe
Yet.
someday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
create that demand and
Right.
maybe it happens.
But most of those things are produced anyways without any kind of pesticides, just
That's the
a
other thing,
tropical type
Yeah.
of nut.
Just
and
because it's not organic doesn't mean it's being coated with pesticides. So
yeah, it may be actually organic. It's just, you know, it's just to go through the certification process of each of those tiny little farms, you know.
Yeah, and we certainly we don't want to mislead anybody and say, you know, it's organic, it's just not called that, wink wink.
Yeah.
But they are tested for heavy metals and pesticides, and you know, so we know the quality of the product. It's just not practical. But like Kara said, you know, as the demand increases for organic macadamia nuts, maybe that will change, and maybe someday, you know, we've joked about having our own macadamia nut farm somewhere.
Yeah, which
I
like
wouldn't mind
living
going
on-
to South Africa and visiting our macadamia
Hawaii.
farm.
So you
Hawaii,
get-
she says.
where would that?
Hawaii. That would
Yeah,
be
I was
too.
gonna
That'd be
mention.
fun.
Yeah, there's so many there, and especially on the Big Island, and even Roseanne Barr has like a macadamia nut
Yeah.
farm. So it'd be interesting if you guys actually source some of it from her.
Nice.
You know.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at what point during the this whole process, because you guys were like holding full-time jobs in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
when were you able to like lead those jobs? At what stage of the business development?
That was early last year, so early 2017 or late
About a
2016.
year ago. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
about 2 years.
No?
2 years
Oh,
in.
you mean in? Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
because it was you guys been in for 3 years now, right?
Just about. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're literally grinding, burning the candle on both ends because you have full-time jobs, and then you're even traveling, Ross, and you're taking care of your father in Phoenix. So
Yeah.
like, how the heck did you guys find time to?
It became obvious when it was time to call it on the day jobs and
Okay.
just jump in full time because it was.
Did you do it one at a time, or you both did at the same time, or?
Well, let me tell you. No, Kara put in notice, and the thought was that I would keep working in the job I had, which was in the wind energy business. I worked for a wind turbine company that was based out of Florida. And so Kara put in her notice, and because of her position as their accountant and the transaction and the end of year, closing the books, all that stuff, she gave them, like 3 months notice, just so she could have time to train somebody else, do a smooth transition. So she gave notice first, and about a month later, I got laid off.
Oh shit!
You know, the wind energy business is...
Had a little.
Well, I had
nudge.
told them, I broached the subject, and I said, you know, sometime next year I may want to go to part-time or leave, but I'm just letting you know. And they said, okay, well, we're cutting back and outsourcing some, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Wow.
So she's like, that's not fair, you know, I gave notice first and I'm still working.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, but it. So it was a little nudge, but it was good. It was good timing, and it was the right time for the business too.
It was.
Wasn't, we could see that it was starting to ramp up the way we were hoping, and so it wasn't. It was scary, but it wasn't terrifying.
Right. So you could see that there was some sort of, I mean, I don't want to throw meaning in there or whatever, but the timing was ripe. Somehow.
Yeah.
Oh, you can throw that in. We're on the
Okay.
same page. I mean,
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
happen for a reason, and
Mhm.
you know, I mean, everything that we've done in our lives got us to this point in some weird convoluted path.
Yeah, as
And-
we were saying in the beginning of the
Yeah.
podcast, yeah.
Yeah, and so, yeah, it was the right time. And certainly Kara would not have willingly said, hey, let's both quit at the same time. Because, of course, that impacts the finances at home, but it worked out well.
So
It was right.
how did that change everything now that both of you were leaving 3 months, you got laid off, and then at a certain point, both of you now are doing this full time.
Well, it does add some motivation to make things grow.
Yes.
You know, there was actually a period of time when
The
Kara's
Hangry and Horny.
Yeah. You know, when Kara's dad was in the
Getting real now.
hospital, when her dad was in the hospital and I was traveling a lot, there were times when we were hoping we didn't get orders. And that's not the right way to run a business or to
that's
grow a
not
business. And so once you're in it, and in retrospect, we probably should have jumped in full time earlier, but it's hard to do financially. But once you're in it, now you got to make it. It's either got to grow or sink. And fortunately, it grew.
Yeah, it's almost like you were encouraged by, if we want to say, the universe or something, right? Like it was like, oh, if you don't decide, I'll decide for you,
got a
right?
little shove.
Yeah,
little
yeah.
shove out of the nest there. Yeah.
And so what changed then? And now you guys are fully committed to this. Did now you could fulfill more orders? Like what was going on at that stage?
Yeah, and then we started doing more social media advertising. We started running ads on Facebook and Instagram, and started sponsoring some other podcasts like Chris Alberts and Drew Manning, and you know, some other people who had messages we liked. And
Stepped on the accelerator a little bit and weren't afraid to, do that. We weren't standing on the brakes anymore, so it was good.
yeah, and then when you see your growth is like 70% a month, you
Wow.
realize, okay, this is the right thing to do.
Yes, and still you're doing everything by hand.
Yeah. So the pouches, you know, when we first were doing this, we were getting pouches, packets that were sealed on 3 sides. So they were sealed on the sides and the top. And we would fill them through the opening at the bottom and then seal it, do a pre-seal. So you've got to fill it, pre-seal it, and then run it through a band sealer that does a final seal, a wider seal, and date codes it with a badge and a lot number. And every single one of those, you know, we would sell 20 or 30,000. I don't know how many packets. It was hard to tell.
Right.
We've put together a couple 100,000 of those little manual pouches like that.
We did graduate to getting the pouches completely printed, so we ended up with just one variety where we were still putting the labels on by hand. So that was a good upgrade.
So that helped Kara, but I was still doing the
You were still
pouches.
doing everything.
You know, and I
Mhm.
broke my neck, broke my
Yeah.
shoulder, you know about that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, it just really caused a lot of pain in my neck. I was standing there and there was this very repetitive motion thing because you do that 1,000 or 12 or 1,500 times in a day. But it worked out. I mean, I'm certainly not complaining. And now we've got a machine that takes roll film and folds it and makes the pouches and fills it. And we still have to monitor it and we weigh the pouches and check the seal integrity, but it's much more automated.
Yeah, like speaking of synchronicity, so now you're at a certain stage of development with the business. You're sort of like breaking your back or your necks, putting this together. So many chances to maybe throw your hands up in the air, but you guys are fully committed. And then all of a sudden, like somebody comes to you like at an event and says like, "Hey, I would love to be involved with this. Like, well, how can I help?" And that just took your business to making like a couple of gallons a day to how many, 200 gallons or something?
Yeah, no, that's 10 times our production capacity.
So 20 gallons.
Well, like, I don't know, in a month.
No, 100 times our product. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, so it was 2 gallons a month to 200 gallons a month?
No, I mean 2 gallons a batch, like in a
I
day.
was thinking
Okay.
of like
Yeah.
number of units produced in a month. But yeah, it was a huge difference, and yeah, we met the right people at the exact right time, for sure.
So this guy who we met at KetoCon in September of last year, they had a supplement company that was also at KetoCon, and he just came by to see his company's booth and check it out. And while he was here, he wandered around and saw some other things, and he came by and chatted with us and liked what we're doing. So he sort of stalked us all day and came back later in the day and said, "Hey, could we chat after the show?"
Yeah, I remember talking to him at the grand opening, and
Yeah.
he said that he really loved the Keto One, the truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
So
we
caught his
bought,
attention.
I mean, again, we made the products we wanted. We got the vehicle we wanted. I mean, we like to camp, and we plan someday to drive down through Central and South America. So we found a used medium-duty Freightliner ambulance at a place back in Philadelphia and bought it. I flew back, drove it out here. We put a lift kit in it and big tires on it so we can take it off-road. Painted it rat rod black and put the logos on it, and it's a business expense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a badass truck, man.
Yeah, but it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it really just, works in with your brand and your lifestyle, and so this guy, he stalked you, he tried the product, really liked it, eventually just made an offer that you guys couldn't refuse.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and it felt really good. I mean, this was September 2nd, 3rd, and 4th was KetoCon. And on Monday, we were planning to head back, I think, Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
And he had said, yeah, it felt right, obviously. But, he'd said, "Hey, let me talk to my partner. And if he's interested, we might want to come out to Flagstaff sometime and chat with you.
In a couple weeks, maybe.
Yeah, maybe in a couple weeks we'll come out." And on Monday, I get a text, "Hey, how's Thursday look?" And so obviously they were interested and excited. And we didn't get back until late Tuesday night. So we weren't back in the office until Wednesday. And we set up this meeting with them. They came out and we met Thursday and had some preliminary discussions, and it felt right. One of the things that felt really good to us is they asked what kind of charities and causes we like to support, what's important to us. They were not looking just to throw some money at a brand. They wanted to help it grow. They were doing a lot of pretty altruistic cancer research funding, and they liked that we have both the epilepsy cause and the TBI, the veterans, Warrior Angels Foundation kind of cause that we want to support. It was important that they offered more than just some funding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that just seemed like a really good fit, and it was good timing. We were getting to a place where I think that happens to every growing business. You start to get pinched a little bit for funding and.
Right,
So
and
it's
whether
just-
to just stay at that level of
You can
production.
throttle back and grow really slowly, but to really let the business grow like it would like to grow, you might need to add some funds.
So the machine that we have now was $250,000, and we didn't have that. But Whole Foods had approached us. In fact, 2 different regional buyers from Whole Foods had approached us, and that was great. But we didn't have the capacity to supply Whole Foods, and so we're in this spot where we're a bit stuck. And we had talked to a couple people about maybe getting some money, whether it was a loan or investment, but we're still hesitant. And
But before
this just felt good, though. These people,
before a meeting, the company that
Yeah.
So they brought the financial backing, but also good expertise in a lot of things that were really helpful to us. So.
in a shared vision. They want us to grow. They don't want to change the brand or the ingredients, and that was important to us. So, I know, Tony, we've had these discussions about people, and it's got to feel right, and you sort of get a sense for whether they are genuine and open and vulnerable and honest or not.
Right.
And we just felt really good about these people.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I was going to ask you is, like, how do you know that you know, right? Like, how did you know? It was like it felt right, but what were the sort of signals to you that, like, this, and you guys did answer. It was just like you, like, picked up my thought there, It was just like these were the things that they showed us, whether it was supporting other causes, that they had expertise in areas that you guys are pretty new to, and didn't want you guys to change anything. They were super supportive about the vision and keeping things the way it's been going. But what was your thought during that time where it was all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, out of the blue, like some guy shows up? Because one of my favorite movies is Forrest Gump, right? And it's just like he just seems to like walk into like all these synchronicities, right? Like even when things like just shit hits the fan, he somehow is guided, and for me that's why it's so important to like follow my intuition and my heart. I know what I see, and I'm always curious, like what do you guys see when you're in flow or when you're in purpose and you have meaning? Like how did you, like what were the things that were showing up for you during that time, or did you even like ask for like help in some prayer kind of way? Like what was going on? Like,
I think I looked to Kara. So I'll tell you, Kara is much more analytical. Kara will put everything in a spreadsheet. She's incredibly methodical, very organized. She's a planner. She will analyze all the options and permutations.
Yeah, well, I
to
mean,
the extreme, we're a good balance.
Yeah, and I'm much more, okay, that sounds good and it feels good, so I may have 80% of the information, but it feels good, it feels right to me, let's go with it. And we're different in that respect, and I think one of the things that was most affirming for me during this was Carol also felt that's a right fit.
Yeah,
it feels good to her.
Good.
Yeah, because you had that other side of you, like you're very structured, organized, analytical, logical in sense. You have a background in, what was it, botany? Or?
Wildlife biology,
And accounting.
Keeping all the things.
Right, you can categorize like all these different types of plants and animals
we did have a few pointed questions for them, but the answers were good answers, and all the answers felt right, and it was, one of the things we wanted to know was, you have some money and you want to throw some money at keto stuff because keto's like the new cool thing? And they had a really good answer. No, they had a very specific strategy and very particular things they wanted to do and goals, and liked how what we were doing and what they were doing fit together. And so that felt really good. And all the questions we had, that felt right.
Yeah, because their whole premise was that, like with keto, there's all this research on like how it's helping people reverse all their illnesses and symptoms. And whether it's like cancer or neurological diseases or epilepsy, they had the same sort of long-term vision that you guys had too. Like, because you're living a lifestyle anyways. But
and one of the partners, his mother she got diagnosed with cancer, and he found that the keto helped her. It didn't cure her, but it prolonged her life and made the treatment more effective. And so after she passed away, he started funding a lot of cancer research through Don DiAgostino and the University of South Florida. And he was doing it very quietly, wasn't looking for recognition. We did look up the studies and found that, at the bottom, made possible through a generous donation by, and that's great. We verified it. But we liked their goal, and we liked their purpose, which was to have a high-quality keto food company, a keto supplement company, and a keto medical products company. And they saw us as the third leg of their stool, and they were missing that. And it was really exciting to us and affirming that they were interested. And we also felt value from them. They didn't come in with a low ball.
Didn't beat us up.
Yeah, the typical, hey, I'm going to offer here, and then you're going to ask for this, and we're going to meet in the middle. They came in with something we thought was fair and equitable to both of us. And so we went from meeting them on September 2nd to doing all the due diligence and the negotiation and closing the deal before the end of October.
Okay.
That was-
So it's just almost 2 months.
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
pretty amazing. I mean, we knew there was also some value in, like Ross said, we had talked about, you know, where will we go if we decide we need to go look for money, but just having money that helps, but then you still need the help. You know, you still need to know what to do with the money. You need to find
Yeah.
the right people. So that was attractive. And yeah, there was definitely an element of synchronicity there. You know, we go to this event. We kind of thought about not going to the event because our lives were really crazy, and it was a huge disruption to go do that. But that, you know, that was the outcome. And so yeah, it felt, and just having that kind of fall into our laps when we've seen what other companies, read about what other companies have gone through when you decide you need to go look for that can be a huge, super time consuming, draining process, and the right thing just kind of showed up. So that was really
So we
good.
think, yeah, I mean, I think we're a good fit for them and they're a good fit for us. And, you know, as we grow, they're going to win. And as we grow, we'll win. You know, we did not walk away. Our goal was not to like get a chunk of money and walk away. We are very much invested, and we are, you know, if the company doesn't succeed, we don't succeed and get paid. And so it's a good fit for everybody. Felt like their motivation and goals very much aligned with ours.
Yeah, so I mean, could you hear these sort of stories that happen where things do fall into place, and you guys were in some sort of unknown territories, and you had the courage to keep going, to keep working, and then eventually, like, you found your breaks. There's always this sort of story, like the hero's journey.
Yeah, for
You know,
sure.
yeah, and that all these Disney movies talk about it and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But were there points where you're like, "Holy shit! Like, why did we do this?" Or, you know,
Well, you mean start the business or do the
yeah,
larger
like when you were
investment?
actually like in the business before the investor came in, and you're just like, this is not what we thought this was gonna be like, or you know.
I don't.
I'm gonna say no.
Not really. There
Because like
is-
some people feel like all of a sudden the business runs them instead of they run the business per se, right?
There is an element of that. We tried to, I think we were both mindful of that. Be careful. We were trying to be thoughtful even before we started the business. We had talked about the possibility of starting a business, and we talked about, well, what kind of business would that be, and we'd want it to have certain qualities and be something, you know, scalable, and not something where it would totally depend on us being there 24/7 forever, you know. So yeah, thinking
Like
about
a life sentence. in
yeah,
some ways,
exactly.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
I think you can definitely paint yourself in a corner like that. I started this business and now it's working and I'll never escape. You know.
Yeah, which
I
is
think
fine if like you guys like really enjoyed it, didn't feel like
Depending
work,
on
it was
what
like
it
a
is.
lifestyle. But you know, a lot of people it ends up becoming a job.
You want something
Yeah.
that you know you can maybe retire from at some point. It's
Right.
not, and so just being mindful of how we put the business together.
But on the other hand, we weren't looking just to sell widgets on eBay or Amazon
Exactly.
and have no connection or do any good. You know. So I think we found a good middle ground there.
That was a
And
good-
we stumbled into it.
Balance, but yeah, there definitely is a point. You know, you start. We had the idea, and we thought, well, we'll try it. You know, we can make these first few products, and we'll see if it goes. And then it kind of goes, and so you feed it a little more, and you put a little more effort and money into it, and it gets a little bigger. And then there is a point where you realize that you're in pretty deep. And you don't, you know, you're kind of in at that
You're
point.
in, yeah, you
yeah.
can't turn
So
back.
yeah, you could, but you definitely don't want to. That investment keeps increasing, and you you know, that you definitely get committed.
What would be the biggest lesson you both learned so far being involved with this, and or like, I don't know, something that like enabled you to, will help you for the future, you know, a mistake,
Oh, we've had mistakes. We got a bunch of labels that had a typo, and we had corrected it, and then in the last revision, somehow the graphics guy used an early form and the typo got put back in, we didn't catch it. So we had probably 8,000 packets that we sent out that said no added sugar with 3 Ds, A, D, 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 E, D, you know, no edited sugar. Nobody saw that, but we posted about it. We said, hey, now with extra vitamin D, you know, I mean,
right. Which is cool because you guys took the initiative to admit your mistake publicly rather than the other way around, you know.
Well, you gotta laugh. But I
Right.
think, you know, Kara and I talked about this last year, and I said, so if you were asked to speak to a group of entrepreneurs, what would your message be? And she said, don't fuck it up. So we've kind of joked, you know, we have the DFIU,
Yeah.
and if you got a good thing and it's going, sometimes the best thing to do is just not screw it up and do more of the good things.
Yeah, and just, I think persistence, you know, both of us have done other things that did or didn't work out to a greater or lesser degree, but you just keep going back for more, just keep at it.
That's cool.
You know, something will come together at some point. So.
Well, I know that we can talk forever. There's definitely going to be another show when I come back here because you both have an amazing like history background, which I think really adds to the complete story of FBOMB. And yeah, I just feel really honored that, you know, you guys had taken the time of your busy schedule to be able to share this story of how this all came about. And I just really feel like it will help other people that are interested in having a dream or like what it takes to make that happen, and sort of know what signals or intuition to listen to, and you know, be open to like magic and synchronicity, and be open to feedback on like how you can improve. And you know, what you guys exemplify is just like, to me, is integrity, generosity, responsibility, you know, and even like vulnerability, like leading with the heart and having like courage to do this because it's something that feels right to you, you know. And I'm sure like there's all these people around now are like, what are you doing? But at the same time, you have all these other people that are like, more, you know, please, we want more of this. This is incredible.
Yeah, we definitely have the people who are like, F-bomb? What are you doing? Are you gonna
Yeah.
sell
like
you're gonna sell
nut butters,
fat in
you know?
packs?
Yeah,
You know.
right.
Yeah.
So like the name to me just like even exemplifies like your sort of sense of humor, you know, the ability to, oh yeah, we'll definitely come on to Hangry and Horny, you know, we'll get Hangry and Horny with you, you know. And I just thought that, wow, I was so honored that you guys wanted to sponsor this show. And
Well, we love what you're doing,
for
Tony,
sure.
and you have been a bright spot. I mean, certainly you coming into our life was unexpected, and
Bonus.
there's a bit of a funny story behind that.
Yeah,
But
very funny.
you know, yeah, we're thrilled that you did, and it's been great to get to know you and have you come out and stay with us for a few days. It's been a pleasure. So thank you for your time.
thank you,
Thanks,
Ross and
Tony.
Kara.
Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate it. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning in. And yeah, check out fatbomb.com or drop at fbomb.com and
Yep.
check out their amazing nut butters. I'm a massive, huge fan.
Well-
that sounded funny, but but thanks for listening, everybody.